Let's have a look at your eyes, Katendo.
Well, it's a bit close. It's a bit close. That might be able to focus, is it?
No. I'm going to show it to him.
Dear 19-year-old me. Wow. That's crazy.
I'm now in Brazil. This is crazy. Actually crazy.
Dear 19-year-old me. I'm 19 and I'm on fire. These are the words I left 18 with, and the words that I started my 19th year with. My last ever year as a teenager felt like the end of everything. My last year to obtain this teenage dream. I could not even imagine what my life would look like at 18, let alone a year later. This is a year I do not think anyone could have ever predicted. But then again, nothing in my life has ever been predictable. I mean, who could predict a baby left abandoned on the side of the road in Uganda would end up being invited by TikTok to speak at world forums in NYC? And who could have predicted that the 15-year-old shy boy, who many of you met for the first time, who had just lost his adopted dad before finishing his final year of high school in the UK, would be here, talking to you about finishing my first year at one of the top, most prestigious drama schools in the world, where icons like Andrew Garfield, Kit Harington, Judi Dench, and some of the best creators and performers in history have gone to. From a mere week being 19 years old, I had received my first ever offer to star in a TV show, which would end up with millions watching it across the UK and around the globe. It was a TV show filmed in a mysterious foreign country, which I would not know until I arrived at the airport, which in hindsight is kind of crazy. I could not have predicted just how far my ambition could and would take me. And it has quite literally taken me around the world this year. To get honest, entering 19, I felt unsure of who I am. Where am I from? And what am I doing in life? And what even is life? So I went searching. From Portugal, where I turned 19, surrounded by my best friends, to going to Japan to film the TV show, to Spain, New York, California, Brazil, the Amazon River, Paris, Italy, Istanbul, Morocco in the High Atlas Mountains, Kenya, India, and China. I searched the world in a last attempt to find out, who even am I? Who is Tendi Avery? And what is my place in this world? This video will span across these places where I've traveled, and it may not necessarily be in chronological order, but in Tendi order of how my brain thinks and how my brain's processing. Because you know, I'm in my era. There was so much I could say about become famous. Do you have any words to say to people about Oxford?
Oxford's pretty nice. I've been here for 14 years. This is bread and butter.
And he's an Oxford Uni student as well.
Well, previously there was some American exchange students that were coming in to do a video, asking me about how would you describe Oxford?
About each place, and hopefully each place will get its own video someday. But for now, I wish to share some things I learnt and some things I wish I knew before entering and being in my last year as a teenager. When 15-year-old me, my goal after losing my dad was to just make it to my 18th birthday. So my 19th year, there was an air of freedom. But with freedom comes fear, as I had no friends other than life is short, and my life could have ended so many times. So I want to work at giving myself the life I know I deserve, and the things And the thing is, I'm still trying to figure out, what do I even want my life to look like? So these are some things I think about. I did not come out of my mother screaming just for me to be silent. You did not come out of your mother screaming just for you to be silenced. Despite how others attempt to categorize me as someone that's extremely dramatic, that's kind of dramatic. Oh, guys, okay. This is just not comfortable. Okay. Despite how others attempt to categorize me as someone that's extremely dramatic, thrives off of drama, and I mean, like I said, I have been studying at a drama school, but I believe the opposite. And if you're anything like me, you would rather sit with an uncomfortable feeling than have an uncomfortable conversation. This year, I've been trying to unlearn this. This is partly because I believe through school and through life, we are trained to be complacent. And questioning too often gets confused with complaining. And I don't necessarily see complaining as something that's always negative. If nobody is willing to address or recognize flaws, how can we expect change? If you asked younger me where I thought I'd be at 19, I would have assumed that I'd have it all figured out and I would finally have peace. Well, 19 has been anything but peaceful. This year, I sang and screamed out my emotions, whether that be at the many, many concerts which I've been to, which if you have watched my YouTube video on how to have your coming of age, this is one of my top tips which I shared when I was 17 or 18, I believe I was 17, was live music, go to live music. But I've had to know that my voice, our voice, is equally as important as anyone else's. Traveling through major cities, I found my voice shaped, reshaped, and a start of a revelation. Not everyone has to like you, nor do I want everyone to like me. Being adopted leaves you with this feeling of chasing a certainty, of trying to find your people, a need to fit in and have security, and with a level of underlying anxiety that at any time someone could decide you're not worth it and leave. For me, this only got worse when, well, my dad left this earth. Girl, that's kind of dark. So, this year I decided what happens when I leave. So I left the comfort of my life I knew. I left my top drama school, my life in London, to go to places that I've never been before. And I found it wasn't only the places that taught me new things, I found it wasn't only the places that taught me new things, but actually, it was myself and seeing how I react to new and different situations. To anyone not fortunate enough to travel the world, this is something which doesn't require any cost. It simply requires interacting with new people. And if anyone is interested in traveling around the world, my DMs on Tendi.Amory, I'm more than happy to help and share my experience. I found that despite attempts of the world to make us feel alien to each other, that we are all, of course, human. We all want love and acceptance in some capacity. And I found that if you meet a situation with willingness to be wrong, then people are more gracious to teach you. I often remember my dad telling me the most dangerous thing a person could be is 100% certain, as that means that they aren't willing to learn, to change, and then it's not a productive conversation. I had to recognize how my own prejudices can hold me back from having some of the most introspective thoughts and analogies. This year, I have laughed with people whom I never thought I would. I felt loved with those who I felt I would be unlovable to. I've seen, felt, and been in moments with those who it sometimes feels like some crazy fate of our paths would cross. At times when it felt like my life was ending, whether that be through grief, or how in my last year in London, someone who I thought would be there throughout it all, a friend, had, well, let's say we're no longer friends because they made an insensitive joke about my father.
We really shared a connection, you know.
Which led me to moments of feeling so isolated in London. At 19, it sometimes felt like I was losing several people at once. What felt like losing several people who I thought I wouldn't taught me maybe it's not always a loss, as it allowed spaces for so much love in other ways. And it definitely made me understand now where only a 19-year-old Taylor Swift could have written the Speak Now album, and specifically Dear John. And why a 19-year-old Lorde could make an album like Melodrama. As I'm reflecting on those that came and went, I'm trying to let go of my anger and grief, to seep away and to remember that even on those stormy days, they are part of my journey. And there was a version of me that these people gave me the sun. In my head, I sometimes feel so very old.
Guys, I feel like we're gonna look back on this and be like, wow, what do you mean we're in Brazil?
No, literally.
Like what?
It feels so unreal.
This is crazy. Go. These people have no shame. Ew, that should be me. It's a video. The way you're out here just saying shit, posing. Hi guys, I'm out right now at
What's your budget?
It's very nice. It's very quiet. I think it's gonna get more busy later because it's only. Oh, it's 9:12. Where are the people at?
But then I have to remind myself, I'm only 19. This is what feels like my first time living. And it's others, so there's bound to be some bumps. A lesson I'm having to learn while being 19 is that people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves. I'm learning which are battles worth fighting and when it's simply time to go. As I say, we are the main characters in our
What is your name and where are you
In some
from?
situations I've had to learn, simply people with opposing references and life experiences just would not be able to understand. And while I do always advocate for talking things out, that doesn't necessarily mean having to forgive or forget. And I try and stay open to a range of perspectives. But at times this year, when I felt so lost, so confused as to what am I doing, who am I with, I've had to remind myself of the simple fact that this too shall pass. I feel like this gave me clarity thinking like this. This too shall pass. And in a crisis, and I find myself sometimes nostalgic for moments while they're still happening. But then the fear of grieving something that's already alive has often felt like a weakness to me. Even this video, and leaving my teenage years, it's felt like part of me is dying. And when it feels like all I've ever known is being a teenager, how can I be anything else? But this too shall pass. Which means I must savor the good times and not fear too much the bad. This has been my most global year yet, from the TV show in Japan and being in New York City while millions of people back in the UK were watching me on their TV screens. Right, I used to be terrified, like actually terrified of flying, and I used to say to my parents I would rather walk across the ocean than fly. And that feeling of having no control in the plane, of falling and then having the worst possible outcome was literally the most frightening thing to me. This is partly due to my grandpa passing away in a plane crash. And this year, I've been thinking a lot actually about my grandpa, my mum's dad, as I never got to meet him. I've been thinking a lot about lost ancestry and what role did those before me do to make me who I am, and what role would I want to leave behind. When I was younger, I thought by 18 I would know my biological family, and to be honest, I have not searched for them, nor has it been a top priority for me to. And while I do often wonder, would it bring me more comfort or would it bring me more pain? Especially as I'm no longer a kid, would my biological family even recognize me if they saw me today? This year, I've met countless people, many cultures, and something I found comforting is that laughter has no language. It's universal. That love. This year, there have been many times where I felt more lost than I've ever known. I've met so many people, so many really different people and places. And with each new experience, new person, my horizons grew. And the sky got a bit bigger, and my aspirations grew. And with that, it left me feeling sometimes like I can never reach the heights I so desire. I've had to learn that not everyone will be there for you in times of need, but I will always be there. So I need to make myself into someone that I'm happy to spend my life with. I am becoming the role model I wish younger me had, and I'm having to learn how to be a guide to myself. Because at the end of the day, nobody in life can ever know exactly how you feel. Nobody will know all it took to get to where you are. And I think there's so much strength and power in standing true in your decisions and knowing where you want your life to go. At times when my heart felt so broken this year, in ways I had not experienced before, as it wasn't heartbreak because of grief or death, something I'm unfortunately all too familiar with. It was grief for relationships with people that are still very much alive, and grief for a version of me, of us, that, and by the way, I'm not talking about romantic relationship here before anyone tries to, my siblings are gonna be like, Pendy, you're in a relationship? Anyways. It's grieving people that are still very much alive and grieving like a version of me. I'm really grieving like just younger me and my childhood and like being a teenager and just that like sense of just pure belief that I had in romance. I feel like I used to be such a like hopeless romantic, and now I just feel like so cynical, and I don't want to be cynical. And I'm like, I wish when I believed that I would bump into someone in the middle of the street and they would look at me and be like, that's the love of my life. Like, I want to be that person again. So it's kind of just grief in general, but grief in a different way. And I oftentimes felt like the most lonely boy in the world. And there have been times I've had to accept that some things just end. Well, I'm still learning about that, but at the times when I felt lost in my 19th year, which I think is fine if anyone else was lost in their life, I feel like there's not like one solution to life. And I think this year has really been a time for me to just like sit in those feelings. And at times when I felt lost, these poems have guided me. And I want to read them to you. And I hope they can give you some comfort.
How'd you want to be remembered? As a good friend. I don't really need to be remembered. I hope the music's remembered.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Wild Geese, Mary J. Oliver. To 19-year-old me, you did things greater than your wildest dreams, and you followed your heart when even those around you doubted. And I think I really agree with what Lorde said in her post on Facebook before her 20th birthday. She said, "I was 16 when most of us met. Can you believe it? I laugh thinking about that now. That glossy idiot god princess of her childhood streets, handmade and ugly and sure of herself. All my life, I've been obsessed with adolescence, drunk on it. Even when I was little, I knew that teenagers sparkle, and I knew they knew something children didn't know, and adults end up forgetting." Another poem which has gotten me through this year especially is this. One day, she's on a mission to find. She found her cracks. One day, you finally knew what you had to do, and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though the melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough, and a wild night, and a road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, and the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company, as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. So guys, even when the world felt so dark, there was a light that shone through. And you guys genuinely have helped me find strength amongst the challenges. To my trendies, like, wow, like I just actually, it's so crazy to me reading your comments and being like, there's so many people out there that just, I feel, get me better than anyone else could, you know. And I feel like I've laughed with you guys, I've cried, I've overshared, and all the things and in between, and just like the messiness of being a teenager. And I don't know what my 20s will be like, and that's kind of terrifyingly exciting, you know. And so I'll blow out the candles, because I was only 19. I was 19 and on fire. And to any teenager out there watching, Life feels like it's all figured out when you're a teen. And honestly, I know people say there's still so much left to learn and so much life left to live, and that's true. But I do believe when you're a teenager, you do believe you have it figured out. And I don't think you should ever invalidate those feelings. As being a teenager, it's intense, it's deep, we're complex, and I know sometimes as I age, perhaps I'll look back at these videos and my feelings will change and maybe I'll have slight embarrassment. But I know what I feel is real. And I'm someone who feels things deeply. So I'm not ashamed of any of my past videos, and I'm not ashamed of old crushes, and I'm not ashamed of just the messiness of trying to figure it out. And I don't think you should feel embarrassed for making mistakes and for growing, you know. And I wasn't ashamed to be 19 to 18 to 17 to 16 to 15-year-old me, because you continue to guide me. And to 20-year-old me,
that's not a long time to live your 20s.
No, I know what you mean. In my head, I feel like when you reach like 60, okay, now what? Like your life is just like, you can't really do anything new.
In your 20s, that's such a scary year. Like so many things change.
And also like your 20s, I feel like there's... I don't know.
Are you recording?
Is it recording? Okay.
you look good in this actually. Do you want to see? It's from my YouTube.
Babies, married.
That's what I mean, like your 20s, like I feel like everyone's at different stages in life. Like you have some people who are like already married and have kids by like 25, and then some people are like still living at home or like don't know what to do with their lives, or like I don't know.
It still like baffles me how we so like how many people are age
Minutes!
I'll stop recording. It was the end of a decade, but the start of an age. Truly. Love, 19-year-old Tendi. Wow. To 20-year-old Tendi, I actually have zero clue what we will be like. Like, actually, I don't know. And I hope we find people that make us feel loved. I hope we keep dreaming bigger than reality and that we achieve everything and more. And I'll leave you with the wise words of the person who I entered my teenage years with, the author of my soul, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. And she said this. And I think it sums up 19-year-old me and being a teenager. When she fell apart. Cracked her bones on pavement she once decorated as a child with sidewalk chalk. When she crashed, her clothes disintegrated and blew away with the winds that took all of her fair-weathered friends. When she looked around, her skin was spattered with ink, forming the words of 1,000 voices, echoes she even heard in her sleep. Whatever you say, it is not right. Whatever you do, it is not enough. Your kindness is fake. Your pain is manipulative. When she lay there on the ground, she dreamed of time machines and revenge, and a love that was really something, not just the idea of something. And when she rose, and when she finally rose, she rose slowly, avoiding old haunts and sidestepping shiny pennies, wary of phone calls and promises, charmers, dandies, and get-love-quick schemes. And when she stood with a desolate knowingness, waded out into the dark, wild ocean up to her neck, bathed in her brokenness, said a prayer of gratitude for each chink in the armor she never knew she needed. Standing broad-shouldered next to her was a love that was really something, not just the idea of something. And when she turned to go home, she heard the echoes of new words. May your heart remain breakable, but never by the same hand twice. And even louder, without your past, you could have never arrived so wondrously and brutally by design or some violent, exquisite happenstance here. And in the death of her reputation, I feel truly alive. So guys, I hope to speak with you guys soon, and I genuinely just, I don't know, it's crazy. I'm recording this in India right now, in New Delhi, and I've never been to India before. And I feel like this year has kind of been like testing all of the knowledge which I've gathered so far, and I'm so excited for my 20s actually, and I feel I can't even say I feel like I know everything now, but I feel like in my 20s I want to experience everything as deeply as possible. And I love you guys, and I genuinely feel like this next chapter of our career, of us, of all of this, it's gonna be amazing. And as always, PS, where you gonna be? Stay trendy to be like Tendi. What do you wish you a year ago knew now? Give me some life advice. Okay, bye. I'm in my 19-year-old, about to be 20-year-old era. Speak to you guys soon. Love you.